Alrighty. So this is the third episode of the podcast for the zero bail policy for my civics project. This is Christy.
Hello.
Hello. And yeah, so we're just gonna kind of start it off. I'm gonna ask some basic questions. So obviously, you know why you're on here is for this specific thing. But prior to this, did you really have any knowledge on this subject?
I know it existed. I know I've heard little bits about it, but I'm not terribly knowledgeable on the subject. I just a few little things.
Okay. Okay. Um, So I can give you a little bit of backstory on what it is. So
Okay.
the zero bail policy was originally introduced during COVID as a way to keep the amount of people in jail down, um, because because they were afraid of the spread of COVID.
Okay.
And now it has just recently been reinstated into LA County, and a lot of the cities inside of LA County are very upset because they have seen that negative impacts on this. So 14 cities inside of LA County are suing LA County um, for this thing coming back. So the general basis of this policy is that anybody that commits a misdemeanor or a non-violent felony will be eligible to be released a few hours later without bail, or kind of like a cite and release type thing, which basically says that you'll have to appear in court at a certain date and time.
Okay. So do you said that it's for non-violent, non-felony crimes, I believe. That's what you
No, it's
said?
for misdemeanors and non-violent felonies.
Non-violent felonies.
So you can still commit a
Okay.
felony
It's
and be released,
non-violent.
just non-violent. However, one thing to
It,
point out is battery is considered a felony. And in a specific instance, there was somebody that was able to hit somebody with a skateboard, and they still were released, even though. So it's a very fine line that I don't really 100% comprehend. Um,
I was asking that because a local woman was attacked, and my understanding was that um, the woman that she was out walking her dog, and she was attacked by, I believe it was a homeless woman who lunged at her and stabbed her and killed her. And I had
right.
heard because
I've actually brought that up. That's but one of my main key
okay,
factors in this whole thing
okay,
is that's kind of how why I got into it, is because I remember this story and I've kind of covered it and broke it down. So if you have any questions, feel
okay.
free. I mean, we'll go over it too. So
So okay, I'm glad to hear that, because then you'll be able to answer some of my questions better. So my understanding is the woman who attacked her and killed her was in jail the day before for a similar crime, but was let out.
it was not the day before, but it was in what the police department said. They released a statement saying that it was in the week prior, or actually I have it pulled up here. Let me get that for you. It says earlier this week. So that it was earlier in that week. So it was not. I'm gonna say it was the day before, but it's the same police department, the Riverside Police Department, that arrested her both times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
what was the original arrest for?
the original arrest was for. I'm just trying. I know what it is for, but I'm just saying exactly what they're gonna say. Shortly after, officer nearby. Sorry, give me just 1 second. The suspect. Officers arrested. Officers arrested and booked Miss Montoya into jail for assault with a deadly weapon, but due to the current emergency bail scheduled during the COVID-19 pandemic, she was released on a notice to appear citation. That was the original arrest, the
So
reason for
that
the
sounds
arrest.
like a violent felony to me, isn't it?
Right. But she was still cited and released for that.
So my question would be, was there some extenuating circumstance, or it sounds like it was just so there this no bail for nonviolent crimes got extended into a violent crime. Is that what I'm
Correct.
understanding?
Well, I don't know the specifics. I'm just seeing from news articles and whatnot. But I mean, I would just like your opinion on it. So I can't say for sure that there
Okay.
was an extenuating circumstance or not. That's just what I have read, and again, I can say with confidence that I share that same view with you. Is why was she ever released? But yeah,
My opinion on the policy, I'm not real sure I have a real strong opinion on the policy, as the way you described it, because if they're nonviolent and they're not out there physically hurting people, I still don't know how I feel about that. I still I don't like the zero policy. But as far as backing it up, that would take me a minute to think about. But the but I think absolutely under no circumstances should somebody who has committed a violent crime against somebody should they ever be allowed out on a zero bail policy. There needs to be some accountability. So that should have never happened. So that would be my concern is they put this into place, but they don't really have any safeguards. They're just kind of using it very loosely, and that's a problem for sure for me.
yeah,
That we aren't guaranteeing the safety of our citizens.
right, right. And just to note on that, I just got when it says assault with a deadly weapon, it was that she attacked a woman with a skateboard, and this was
That was okay. That was the same
yes, this is, so I'm
case.
just
Oh, okay.
reiterating that, and that when where she attacked somebody with a skateboard was 2 to 3 miles away from where she murdered somebody a couple days later. So it it all happened within a very short time period and a very short area as well. Um,
I feel like that one example, speaks volumes about what anybody should think about that policy.
right, right.
That, that's
Well, let's not go to the like extreme of the extreme because if you
okay.
really want to look at it, right, that is
Okay.
the most extreme side of the case, and I have admitted that. Like, I mean, this is going to help me spread awareness for this policy, but who am I to bash one side of it? So we have to look at the other sides of it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you just a really quick example, right?
Okay.
Let's say that somebody was in dire need for food, for their family, right? Like they
Mm-hmm.
really needed food, so they went to a grocery store, stole some groceries. They were able to feed their food, but they got caught later on. What do you think? Do you think that the zero bail policy could actually help that family in that situation?
Hmm. I feel like that opens up a whole can of worms because I think we need to be better at taking care of people who truly are in need. So, but I think so many of the policies are taken advantage of. So say that you truly have this family in need and they're truly hungry. That breaks my heart, and I don't want that for anybody. And I want us to have systems in place that help somebody like that. But then you have somebody who this is just I mean, I've seen videos of people going in and stealing hundreds of dollars worth of steaks, and they can't claim I needed to feed my family dinner tonight, but they're going to fall in that same category and find those same loopholes, and they're going to keep doing it. And my fear would be that they're going to keep doing it because I'm going to go and get out on zero bail. Oh, I'm just going to go do it again. I'm going to get a slap on the wrist.
Right,
So
right.
our system is a little bit messed up that there are so many that I absolutely want to help the right people, but I don't want the people who take advantage of the system to be a bigger problem.
Yeah, right. I'm looking up a statistic right now. That's exactly what you said. You said you were afraid that they were going to go out and commit more crimes. That's one of the biggest things that is about the zero bail policy. I mean, you saw what happened with this lady, but like you were saying with your meat scenario, is how often are these people going to actually go out? And if you could just take a wild guess, what would you think the percentage of the people that get arrested and then released based on the zero bail policy actually get out? What would be your guess?
They get? What do you mean get out? Like
Uh,
the people
the people who get released on the because of the zero bail policy, what percentage of them do you think go out and
commit more crime?
yes, correct. Sorry, I just couldn't get the words
Ooh.
out.
Okay, I think it's pretty stinking high because I don't think most cases are like those really in dire need, starving families. That's a whole
Right.
other problem. I think it's probably like 80%.
That is definitely a lot higher than it is. It's
Okay.
38%. It's
Okay.
38%, but you do have to think that's still a lot of people. That's 40%. Basically 38%, but we're just around it for even numbers kind of thing for right now, just for this example.
Those are the ones that get caught. Those are the ones that get caught again. not
Yes.
necessarily that. So it could
True,
be
true.
higher.
Yeah, you never know. These are the people that they're able to document exactly. But I mean, still, if you take a group of 100 people
Yeah.
and and the statistic is showing that 38 of those 100 people are going to go and repeat their crimes.
That
Now,
is pretty
the way that I see it is if we had a little bit more stricter of consequences, like they didn't get released off of bail, or they actually had to pay a significant fine, or they got sentencing sooner, what do you think would happen in that situation?
I think it's a deterrent. When you get punished, it's a
Right.
deterrent. So I think it would drop the statistic.
So speaking of deterrence, I have another claim here from a certain website that says they believe that this policy has the potential to embolden criminals and discourage law-abiding citizens. Do you agree with that?
I think it emboldens criminals. I I don't know how. I don't. Do they get more specifics on how they think it would discourage law-abiding citizens? Because just because I'm
Because
not.
they
I'm of the
believe that
belief.
it would erode the very foundation of a safe and just society. That's how it could
Okay.
discourage law-abiding citizens.
Oh, so just be like being discouraged. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
Do you have
I do
any
agree.
other notes on that specific claim that you'd like to share?
I think I think things like, we know in certain areas, certain states, a lot of where these laws are more lenient for the criminals. I think we see a lot of these law-abiding citizens leaving and looking for better places to live and and raise their families, and where they feel safer and where they feel they're around people with their same values. And so I think a huge thing that's happening is, especially in California, is a lot of people are leaving California, and what are we gonna be left with? I mean, it's gonna deteriorate faster without these people holding or keeping the standard high of how we should behave and how we should be act in a moral society. So I
Right.
think I think it could potentially be a big problem. And since it's not in huge numbers right now, but if it
Mhm.
continues this way, it could get really bad in certain areas, because all we're left with is the criminal element that they think they're owed something and that they can do whatever they want and they shouldn't be punished.
Right. Right. So again, this isn't a policy that's going into effect where I live personally right now, but it is in LA County, which borders us. And I know that there's a lot of problems with criminals kind of being pushed out of city bounds. I know that that's something where they're kind of just like, we don't want to deal with this problem. We're going to kind of push you around. So that's one of my concerns as well, is that hey, these people are going to get pushed out of jail, not really have a place to go, and they're like, well, our county or our city doesn't want to deal with you. Maybe we'll push them to Riverside, Riverside County or something like that. So that's why I believe that it does have a direct effect on me and my community, but as well as LA. I mean, that is somewhere that I visit often. Um, and I don't really feel the need to have to worry about people who are getting released for crimes that they've committed. So my kind of like question to you is, um, would you be in support of the zero bail policy in LA County going back into effect? Because it is in effect right now. Or would you be like, no, I don't want that to be in effect at all?
I don't want that to be into effect. And are they saying they're bringing it back into effect because of COVID or for some other reason?
No, they just brought so originally what happened is they took the policy out of effect. They put it into effect during COVID, then they took it out of effect. And recently in October, I want to say, I can't remember the exact month, but October of this of 2023, they put it back into effect. Not for any specific reason, but there were some specific reasons like overcrowding. They wanted to make it fair for minorities, so we'll go into the minorities portion of it too, and other things like that.
Okay, so yeah, I don't understand why overcrowding. I know that something has to be done about overcrowding, and maybe they're trying their best to figure that situation out. But on the flip side, so we're releasing these criminals, and because there's this overcrowding problem, but now we have merchants and citizens who are suffering, because I know tons of stores are just closing down, or they're going just online, or they have big cat lock cabinets for the most basic things, because shoplifting is such a huge problem and there's no repercussions for it. So they're trying to fix this one problem of overcrowding and maybe a few other problems, I don't know, and creating an even larger problem for the people who make society run, for the
Right.
law abiding citizens, the business owners, the consumers. So they're trading off one problem and making a more huge problems.
Right, right. And I think one of the biggest things that they are claiming is that this policy can help minorities that are being arrested and being put back out there. So, what are your opinions on that?
How does it help minorities?
They're saying that minorities may not have the amount, like the proper funding to be able to afford bail, the
Okay.
traditional bail.
So like I don't think of it as minorities as in different ethnicities and races. I think of it as in like it may be financial
Mm-hmm.
minority, with less financial ability. So I don't think that has anything to do with your skin color, your nationality. So and I get that, where they're like everybody has the same fine for this crime, and somebody who has a lot of money, it essentially is a zero bail policy for somebody who has a ton of money. I get that, but I think that's one of the exceptions. I don't think that's probably the norm, but I think a case could be made. I don't have the details in my head at the moment, but for almost like a sliding scale of bail based on your resources, maybe something like that, so it kind of hurts everyone evenly. But there needs to be a hurt, there needs to be a consequence of these bad actions. So if you don't have a job, and you, I don't know, your family doesn't have money and stuff, maybe your bail is $500, while this guy over here is $5,000.
Right. So, you believe that they should examine somebody's financial status based on their bail if they were to commit the exact same crime?
I believe that could potentially work. I realize there are limitations with that as well, because then that's taking up a lot of resources to do something like that. But I think that has the potential to do what they're claiming this does. Because now we're just throwing a blanket policy out there that it's okay to do stuff. There's not a consequence. Because I think they're probably for. I think there probably are a lot of I think the crimes that are happening by people with more money are not like these. I think they're different crimes and they need to be punished as well. And so I think it's probably more that these people, like white collar crime, I'm thinking of, where they have money and they're doing stuff. Their bail probably needs to be real high.
Well,
Um,
also, white collar crime, which would kind of fit under the realm of like embezzlement type stuff or money laundering and whatnot, that would
mhm.
be considered a felony. And I do not believe that you'd be able to be released without bail. Obviously,
But it's not violent.
so maybe they
Is it?
are eligible. Maybe they are. You're right. Um,
But maybe
but
they shouldn't be. I don't think that they necessarily should be. I don't. I'm not a fan of the policy at all, but violent or nonviolent, like you've committed a crime, you need to feel the consequence of that crime.
right,
So even if an embezzlement is a nonviolent crime, I don't think they should get out without paying bail. I absolutely think they should pay bail. And if they're embezzling $5 million, their bail sure as heck should be higher than this guy who stole a few steaks.
right, right. Something I do want to highlight on, which just went out of my head for whatever reason. Trying to think. You were talking about the. Can you remind me just again what you said? Sorry. Just hopefully it'll
That the
spike. I'll
bail
spark memory.
that the bail should be higher, like for some of these white collar crimes, as opposed to like a shoplifting crime, but they all should still be charged bail and they should feel the pinch.
Consequences. Correct. So that's what I was trying to think of. So the 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 zero bail, right? It gives. It means you're not putting any money down to get out of jail, right? And then you have a court date, right? And the whole reason for bail and you're paying bail is that's even more of an incentive besides, getting a bench warrant to actually show up to that court, right?
Hmm.
Now and something to consider is that some of these people who have committed crimes during the COVID zero bail policy still have not been tried yet. 4 years, 3 to 4 years later, right? And they haven't put any money up front, so they have nothing to lose on the money wise. And let's say these people were just like, screw it, I don't want to be in California anymore. I don't want to serve this thing. I'm gonna go move 4 states over, and they're not gonna extradite them back to California necessarily. I'm not sure if they would or wouldn't, but that's just another thing. They're getting away with crimes blatantly.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
what would be your opinion and take on that?
I just think it's another consequence of a bad policy.
Right.
But yeah, of course that's going to happen. But they, because I know if you get bail, you get a bail bondsman, and that person's going to make sure that you stay and show up and do what you need to do, and pay your
Right.
and serve your pay your consequence. So yeah,
Right.
so that's another fault of that system.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, is there anything else that you feel like we need to talk about, or any other closing statements that you want to make?
No, again, I mean, I was just sharing my opinions with you, and I do realize that some of the things I said would be a huge undertaking. So I don't think any answer is a simple answer.
Right. Right.
Um,
But that's perfectly fine, because right now what my I feel my goal isn't to find an answer. Right? I don't think that I said in a couple podcasts ago, I said it isn't my job as a 17-year-old to go and, you know, find the solution for this. But it is my job with this project to spread awareness about that. So
well, I think you
by
did a
you
great
just
job.
sharing your opinion is totally 100% fine. That's what the whole point of this podcast is.
Okay,
Cool.
great.
Anything
Yeah,
else
I
you have
don't
to
think I
say?
have anything else. I don't think I do. Thank you. Thanks
Yeah,
for
of
having me.
course. Yeah, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
All right.
Have a great
Bye.
night.
You too. Bye.